Hello, everyone. You're listening to CloudNext, your go to source for cloud innovation and leaders' insight. Brought to you by Global Dots.
Businesses today stand on the precipice of transformation. Gazing into the cloud-filled horizon, the dream is clear. A boundless digital expanse where data flows freely, scalability is a mere thought away, and innovation thrives in the fertile grounds of unlimited computational power. Yet beneath this gleaming promise lies a shadowed reality fraught with challenges. As organizations embark on their cloud journey, they soon encounter the complexities of cost management, where expenses spiral unpredictably. The vast oceans of data, while rich with insight, also bring overwhelming complexity. Privacy concerns mount, and the fear of data breaches becomes ever present. Our guest today is harnessing the power of AI to solve these very challenges. I'm Ganesh the Awesome, and joining me today is Tarang Vaish, co-founder and CTO of Granica. Tarang stands at the forefront of this revolution, pioneering AI-driven solutions that navigate the complexities of the cloud. Tarang, before we start, what should people know about you?
Thank you, Ganesh. Bit about me, I am an immigrant here in US. I love, working on any challenging problem that's in front of me. I am a gamer by nature. As a kid, I grew up playing all sorts of video games and I love any good technical challenge. My passion has been always learning new things and going deep into subjects and figuring out, what makes things tick and how can we solve those technical, challenges. How can we have business solutions built that are actually solving customer problems? So about me, I've worked in different startups, starting from working as a GPU, kind of a software architect on designing GPUs and working on NVIDIA CUDA SDKs and thinking about how we can accelerate applications using the GPU. Next, I had worked at a company called Cohesity, where I worked on the distributed storage platform that they have. And this gave me an experience of how people that are not deploying, in the cloud, like the on-prem world, how are they basically solving the challenges or the competition that has arrived with the cloud, so to speak. So in short, what I learned is how do you make on-prem systems cloud-like? And basically blur the gap or the big chasm between on-prem experience and the cloud experience. So it was great having that experience of building more from a capex to an opex model, transition that I saw. And then I have worked in a SaaS company dealing with email security and being more of a AI enhanced email security solution. And I learned all the challenges that come with deploying a SaaS product in the cloud and how difficult it is, to control your costs and to provide real value with AI. After that, my journey at Granica has been really awesome with a really great team, that I have worked with. Our mission has been always about helping customers with the journey in the cloud and being very data focused along with that. So we understand the bits and bytes of how data is being used and thinking of it not just in volumes of data, gigabytes, petabytes, so on, but also about the information that is really stored inside that data. Right? Very simply, in the cloud, when you have this IoT data or machine generated data that has become exponentially larger, in size than what it used to be on-prem. And the visibility into that is even worse than what you had on-prem. So these kind of challenges, really excited me. That's why we started Granica. And we were thinking about how do we tackle this data problem, which is 10x worse actually in the cloud than the on-prem world where I came from.
Yeah, that's a very solid set of background credentials you just provided there. It's everything from being a programmer to a on-prem genius to a SaaS platform guru. You really ticked all the boxes along the way. And actually, I came across a word a good few years ago now, but it was when the cloud was still fairly quite young. And the expression cloud sprawl was something that was provided. And I thought that's actually something even, like you said, even more present now than ever before. Data is just pouring in everywhere. And mostly people too scared to tidy it up, really. But would be great to get your insight. We're on the back of all of those credentials. You've then started up Granica. Can you tell us some of the valuable lessons you've learned on building your own AI startup?
Yes. So we thought about AI, as a investment that we could not ignore. Like we basically wanted to make sure that we have a very solid business case. Like, it should be something that I can explain to anybody walking on the street, and they are able to understand the business value of the product. So we started from the core business value, which is like cloud efficient, like, cloud cost efficiency. You have your data in the cloud, it is growing exponentially at about 40% year over year. This is before the AI. And now it's probably even more crazy, right? So there is always going to be a need to make sure that you grow sustainably. And there is so many pain points and horror stories around, like, how cloud doesn't work for you, a lot from the cost perspective. So we started with a strong business use case, followed by understanding that, the only way that we can, like, push the boundaries will be one from a systems angle, where we build really good, distributed system solutions, which tackle and build a platform that is very efficient to deal with this petabyte scale data, followed by, having an AI research from two angles. One is that we build our own solutions which are more AI enhanced or AI first, so to speak. And then also, all the applications that we see today are, AI centric. So how do we understand them best, and how do we add value for them? So kind of like going bottom up and building our solutions with systems and AI, conjoined together, and as well going top down and looking at what the AI applications, are doing differently with their data, and then how we can, give people like different real value with that, from our platform.
Mm. And that's, you're doing it obviously at a very interesting time. I think I was involved with the Granica story quite early, and knew what you guys were up to. And this was, I would say, prior to the Chat GPT hype that we are now experiencing. So I would sort of quite in a flattering way say that you were doing AI before AI was cool, and now everybody's all over it. But what were the challenges you had in creating a team around that? Because it's a completely new idea. I'm guessing that the skill sets didn't exist. You can't hire for AI engineers because they just sort of don't exist, and certainly wouldn't have done when you were building Granica. So how did you approach that?
Yeah, I would actually give credit to, our chief scientist, Andrea Montanari, for that. He is a professor at Stanford, and he was an early advisor at the company. And we used to talk to him about like information theory and some of the challenges with basically dealing with, let's say, deduplication at petabyte scale data sets. So we had been working on that space for a while. And under his leadership, we were able to bring in a lot of AI research and build AI research labs, so to speak, within the company. That was a big catalyst, because now typically, the building blocks are not there. If you are just to transition to AI company, it's not easy to just hire 10 great people, and do that. So we had that, like, let's say, initial kindling with, like, Andrea coming on board. But then the team slowly, started getting built around AI research. And now we had this in-house teams where they have engineering, they have cloud expertise, and now they have AI researchers, coming together. And they were now able to talk to each other because they are, let's say, in the same room, so to speak. And they are able to bounce off ideas, or they are able to, like, let's say we had early presentations a year back when ChatGPT had just come, and our AI researchers were talking about what it means to us, etc. So that actually was a great way for everybody to, like, transition towards, an AI stack. And it also made it easier for us to attract more AI talent. So we always focused on AI research, and that is how we were able to grow, our team. And having everybody talk to each other, we would have like these ninja talks every Wednesday, or basically also invest in projects which are not always customer facing, like there are investments that are like a 2 quarters down the line, etc. Those things made us easier for us to be more flexible. Like if 100% of your team is working on the current product line, it's very hard for you to pull out people and train them, transition them towards an AI product. But if you have a smaller team that is working 2 quarters ahead, on those problems, then once they have reached a certain, like milestone or maturity, you can bring in more people and they can get trained, from where things are. So it's been like a great vision for us to focus on, AI research. It was a bet that we had even long before there was ChatGPT, because we always wanted to invest in the big applications that are going to exponentially keep growing, your cloud adoption. It used to be these machine generated data, your logs and audits, etc., that was growing. Then there was a lot of video content. There was genomics data, and we knew AI was the next big thing. So that's where we always had the bets on those on that direction. But this is something that shook everybody when it came.
And I really hope that your meetings were actually called Ninja Talks. Were they actually called Ninja Talks?
They were called Ninja Talks. So we call ourselves ninjas within the company. Yeah. And the talks are called Ninja Talks. And it's pretty open. Every Wednesday, there's lunch hour and people can have their food, and one or two folks can present anything that they like.
I like that a lot. We used to do... we used to call it the town hall meeting when I was in a technical operations team, and I always thought town hall meeting sounded very official and quite stuffy. But Ninja Talks, I like that quite a lot. You talked about Andrea and his the way he helped shape that journey, and I know the listener probably still doesn't maybe fully understand what Granica does, but as one example that's very easy for listener to understand is that you built a new standard for compressing data at petabyte scale. So doing deduplication at a level that hasn't been done before by finding patterns within data so that you can dedupe on patterns of data rather than whole files, which is pretty groundbreaking. I remember when I first saw the technology, I thought, wow, it's people were just used to zip. Basically, they 7-zip or PK-zip was invented. That was it. That's what we do to make files smaller. And just I'm always amazed at the new innovations that come out. And following on from that, how do that rate of innovation? And you're obviously going to keep growing products on the back of what you do. You're not a file compression company. You're a company that's solving those problems, but how are you maintaining your innovation as you grow?
I think on the compression side, just for viewers to understand, like compression is something of a technology that works on like kilobytes to megabytes level. If you want to grow anything bigger than that for a 7-zip to do, like you better give it like 10x more memory to consume, and it's just not scalable, because if you want to maybe read a part of your compressed data, you don't want to undo your whole compression and run into gigabytes. So there'll be a lot of waiting periods, and you'll have to have big systems to compress anything larger. So there was a need at petabyte scale to build new compressors, because there is a very unique sets of data are being generated. Like think of your images, and videos. They are not zipped the same way as your regular text data is, because there is specific applications that are using that data, and there is so much volumes of data of type images that there is a special there is a need to build a dedicated compressor that can focus just on images. In fact, there are hundreds of those compressors that focus just on images, and they would be pretty bad, or they just don't work for anything else. So that was one of the intuition, that there is no global compressor. And also compression only works at like kilobyte, megabyte level. And above that, it becomes a systems challenge. How do you build a like scalable system where it can use this technology called deduplication, which can, pull data at petabyte scale, what compression does at a miniature scale. So that was pretty cool. We have like a pipeline of innovation, so to speak. Like it starts from two sources. One is like from our customers, where we are finding out like Granica as a vision. We always had a platform story. So we are not a point product that is just going to be, let's say, saving you like a cost savings product for your object storage. It is also going to be improving your whole data pipeline efficiency, starting from the application and how you are consuming your data, or how are you processing, curating your data, etc. So we are, from a business use case perspective, we are always looking for how our product can work, in the market, and how it can work in adjacent, business needs around that solution. And the second is our research, where we are looking and investing in how AI is shaping the market, but also what are the technical challenges around data that are going to become even worse, as we go. So, for example, right now, training your data, for fine tuning your models, is pretty expensive. And if you think of it like you want to say, hey, I want a better model, let me train on double the data, right? So what would that entail? It will end up almost doubling your cost of training, right? So it's and it's pretty linear, and you need more data over time. So maybe you spend some, effort and trained on certain like set of data sets. But in order to double that, your cost will double. In order to improve your model, your cost will double, which is not something that you would appreciate if you're a CFO or a CIO, right? Where for every 5% or few percent incremental update to your model efficiency, your cost double, right? So the ROI is something that I always think about as a CTO of a company, and I have a lot of empathy for our customers which have to go through that. So we have to bend that curve, and that is one of the research that we have done, that you don't actually incur double the cost if you have to train on double the data, for example. So there is a lot of these research projects which are forward looking in how we can enhance the entire AI pipeline, from AI, from bringing your data, from cleaning your data, from training your models with that data, and then also on the LLM space, how do we improve privacy around using LLMs with your data.
That's
So in short, there is no dearth of projects and business use cases that we have come up. Like, it's just things are a little bit more uncertain right now in AI, and that is actually a good opportunity where it may not be very clear, but you really start seeing that there is a lot of pain points for people to transition into the AI stack.
Sounds like you probably have a problem of too many projects rather than not being able to think of innovation. It's which bit of innovation you want to focus on would appear to be the problem more than not having enough. It's interesting you talk about the state of the AI market, because we don't often get to speak to people like you who are on the show. So you are an AI leader. Your thoughts would be very interesting, because the impact of AI, and people are aware of the obvious things, particularly the use cases that we have today. They're quite well known. I'm pretty sure nobody today is writing formulas for Excel cells anymore. I think that's a solved problem. But what are more the unexpected, or what are the unusual effects, do you think, of AI?
Yeah. So how we have seen, I think the markets, we used to have a FOMO of missing the cloud, and we wanted everybody said that, okay, let's just transition to cloud, and you would have your life would be much better than on-prem world. I think in some way we are having the same FOMO with AI across the market. So that is amazing to see, but obviously, just like cloud, like AI is there, it's really tangible, and people are getting those early results. So it's very exciting for people. So I think this is like a discovery for everybody. They are all expecting that things are going to get much more cheaper and efficient, and more productive as we go. And people are trying to build on top of some AI stack, and they are looking to continue to make it flexible and grow over that stack. So the maybe the unusual part is, like, I don't see that majority of people have really experienced value yet with AI, but there is a lot of investment that is happening there at this point. But this is basically the FOMO of being not being too behind in in the AI journey for everybody. So how I think of it is people are going from like having an AI tag in their product to actually saying that, okay, if we don't do this, we are going to be killed by new competition. We ourselves see that if you are an AI first company versus an AI enabled company, there is a huge difference between that in the speed of innovation. Like if you're an AI first company, you are running much faster than an AI enabled company, so to speak. When I say AI enabled, it's like, you're just like maybe adding a chatbot around your product, or you are just using it in some decision making, but your product is not built with AI as your core engine. And we are building that ourselves, and we see customers who are building it that way are moving much faster than others. So that is pretty amazing and unusual to see, because it's very unusual. Like, okay, you have this magic wand, and if you do that, then you like jump ahead of the competition much faster. So that is how I think I'm seeing the market right now. In terms of how we are utilizing I mean, it's very interesting how quickly you can build products around AI versus how traditionally you had to do software engineering. I mean, we are seeing these early signs of like code completion and like static checks, and like GitHub Copilot is awesome, etc. But if you see, like, just like building an end-to-end AI program, prototyping is very quick. It's in the matter of weeks that people can build a product that could actually beat in like traditional software in certain aspects. But it's now, as we get mature and people want to now deploy AI first products completely in production, like you will slowly see that, okay, you need to build the rest of the 80% that you traditionally have to build: your QA pipelines, your data quality engines. You have to be privacy aware. You have to think about licenses. You also have to think about, like, are you going to be dependent on some third party APIs, etc. So there's a lot of unknowns right now, but actually the speed of innovation and just prototyping and productionization has become exponentially faster, which is amazing to see.
I definitely agree with the not wanting to miss out on the hype, and have seen it quite a few times before as well, because prior to that, big data, a good few years ago, everyone was convinced that they must have some information in their data. And I worked with a few companies that spent a lot of money on big data projects, only to find out that they had no real value inside their big data, but they had to do it just in case, because otherwise somebody else might do it. Yeah, and it's very interesting that, like, as you mentioned, being an AI-led company versus an AI-enabled, we see unbelievable. I work with a lot of software vendors now. We see an unbelievable amount of plugins now, which are they're nice things. They're like automatic pull requests where the code has been written for you, something like Git, Copilot, or just ways of helping people around SaaS platforms and things like that. But they're not really game changers, in all honesty. So it's quite interesting to see where that will go.
It's like, if you think about it, like, when people started building applications in the cloud, they were far more scalable, and they had a global reach versus the applications that you built on-prem. So even if that technology was maybe better and more mature, but it could not have that scale and reach when applications were built in the cloud. So AI is actually a similar example again, that building with AI, you get so much stuff standard, like built in your application, that you basically can be far ahead of a traditional software company product.
Yeah, that's a very nice example, actually. And it's funny how these things repeat themselves over. You could say the same about hardware and virtualizing, and people who virtualized their stacks, and then it was moving into the cloud, and then it was containers or Kubernetes, and then it's this. You have to keep running at the speed of light in order to stay in the same place. So we understand a bit about Granica and what you're doing, and it's a cost-saving tool and a compression tool. But can you also unpack for us how it affects data privacy? Because I know that's an aspect of what you look at as well.
So Granica provides today two product lines. One is called Granica Crunch, and the second is called Granica Screen. So Granica Screen is a product where we preserve the privacy of data from training to inference. We enable privacy-preserving training and inference of LLMs and other models. How does it work? You deploy our platform. You point it towards you with a container that contains our pre-trained models, which are specifically focused on privacy detection, and they support 100 plus languages. And it's API REST API driven. You point your data to our container, and you can basically get a redacted data set back. So and you send it textual data, you get back redacted data, and you also get the metadata required to unredact it later on.
I guess we have quite a few players in that industry at the moment. I could think of a specific example would be Dig Security, who got bought by Palo Alto recently. But generally, the market, the DSPM, data security posture management, which I just think is kind of sweeping your cloud for privacy, basically. It's kind of definitely a huge growing market because people don't want to leak anything in there. Is there something specific about Granica Screen that gives it an edge? And what's the USP over other products?
Yeah, so the USP is it's like built completely with AI models in mind, and it has been and proven to work at petabyte scale. Usually the screen product, like the data privacy products that you traditionally work with, are working on data sets that are in the order of gigabytes to few terabytes. And the functionality, the cost models, and efficiency of the software systems are not that advanced. What we have been able to build is a petabyte scale system where you want to train your data on a petabyte of you want to train your model on a petabyte of data. You can screen that all petabyte of data much quicker than the competition, and then you can actually be able to detect sensitive information in multiple different languages, and you can customize the models to be able to be more context aware on the data set. So it's going to be more meaningful, it's more advanced, has 100 plus language support, and it really works at the petabyte scale where we are now deploying. This is a use case that has probably become more relevant now than before AI, where you need to now do this sweeping your data set at that scale. On top of it, we also provide screen to give you privacy protection around your LLMs. So think if you are using an external LLM provider and you send sensitive information to them, you need to make sure that your security protocols and compliance rules are adhered to. So you don't want any sensitive information to leave your premise. You can use Granica Screen to basically desensitize your data before it goes to the LLM. And once the response comes, we can unredact all that information.
It's an LLM, an AI LLM in order to help people, and then another AI model that is watching to make sure that the data is not breaching privacy. It's like stacking one AI tool on top of the other. Interestingly, you talked about some of those use cases before as well. I sort of forgot to say, but the more obvious use cases like image optimization, we actually see some very cool things coming out of there at the moment. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Speed Size, but it's an Israeli tech firm that somehow worked out what using AI, worked out what human eyes are actually able to pick up from an image in order to make a highly compressed image that's lossless to the human eye. So it's not actually lossless in terms of its pixels or whatever like that, but the human eye can't pick it up. And I'm sort of, I constantly.
This is an age-old optimization. Before I worked on GPUs. I used to be working in computer graphics, so I know that domain very well. I remember there used to be a company where they would play the game of cricket, and the only thing that they made sure was the cricket ball has high quality, and the rest of the system could be very blurred.
Yeah. That's genius, and that's It's definitely it's the old made new, basically. Yeah,
Yeah.
makes perfect sense. You've been in the industry for a little while here, Tarang. On the show, we love a good war story. What misery can you share with our audience that you've had along your way?
Yeah, I think, I mean, there are like it's a great question because there are so many miseries along the way, and luckily you forget about those miseries unless somebody tries to remind you. We went
Like
through
me.
like I guess the opening misery was like when we started the company late in 2019. We just we just formed a small team, and we like, okay, let's get started, and then just COVID hit. So it was like just weird to just abandon that your office and be working completely remotely and not be able to see your coworkers for more than a year. I even had an employee where I did not see him through his whole employment. He worked for us for a year, and I never met him face to face, which is very weird. Before COVID times, this was a very weird thing to have, right? Like, okay, you work with somebody, you have never seen him. But in terms of war miseries, one of the challenges that happens is with bigger companies, they tend to take much longer, to basically go through their journey with us and or the POCs. And during those times, anything can happen. So one of these stories was where a customer had literally hundreds of petabytes of data, and this was a very big company, and they were very excited to work with us, and things suddenly started shaking in that company. And every time we would have a meeting, the folks would be saying that, okay, we are here, don't worry, nothing's going bad. And it kept on happening for a few weeks, and then the folks were gone. And then we came to know later that they basically just the company got acquired, and they basically deleted 90% of their data. So they basically
Oh wow.
basically said, okay, we're just closing the business units, we don't know how to tackle our challenges with the cloud expenses, we just have to do something dramatic. So instead of actually making value of their data, they just deleted 90% of their data.
That is a crazy story, and knowing the kind of companies you work with, and you think of people who are multi petabyte scale, to be deleting data on this size is boggles the mind. Yeah, I think yeah, no words beyond that. The other thing we like to ask people when they come on a show is if you could go back in time and give yourself one piece of professional advice, what would it be? Or maybe if you like, you can have 3 or 5 tips or something like that. Something to share with the audience.
Yeah, sure. I think especially this is for professional advice for a company like, or the stage where we were before, where, the company is just getting started and you're looking to hire people. There was a time when you are competing with the big companies, like the FANG companies, and you're in the Bay Area, things are more expensive. So there was a big trend to just hire remote workers. I think that became a little bit too difficult. Like it was not a great solution for early stage companies where you have your core team members completely working remotely. You do want there is a discovery phase at the initial stage of your company where you don't have anything very clear, you are learning, it's a chicken and egg problem, you're solving a lot of hard problems, and every day things could be different, or different problems become very critical for you. So you really want the team to work together closely and solve these technical problems. So early investing in remote teams early on in your company is not a great idea. I would say you should have some critical mass or people that you're familiar with. Only those cases it's easier to work with remote folks. So I would recommend not hiring too many remote folks unless you have certain business. Once you have a business model running, and you have a sustainable like predictable pipeline and processes, until then hiring too many remote folks could be difficult to scale. uh, in terms of professional advice, I think the biggest thing I feel is don't give up on problems that you are solving. I remember when first time I had to learn Kubernetes, it sounded weird. I had to go read an illustrative guide on Kubernetes and on other things to try to understand what this is. And I had this fear that this is too complicated and I can't pick it up. But then I was kind of forced by my CEO to, hey, you have to do this. So, it was 2 weeks of just having a coffee cup always by my side so that I can power through it. But after that, when I powered through that, I really enjoyed, Kubernetes. And now it's becomes like always intuitive. Even if I'm not developing Kubernetes or with Kubernetes every day, I know intuitively what it means. So the same thing I had with SQL and a lot of other technologies with AI. Now that you really have to push yourself, like do things hands on, learn how these systems work. Especially for older folks, AI was non-existent at our time. So you have to really go hands on, play with these technologies, and you have that will bring you intuition. Even if you are like higher up rank in your company, it's important to go play with these technologies because they are fundamentally a different vertical from where things used to be before. It's this whole software stack is going to look like a parallel software stack for you very soon. So it's important to be hands on, with the technologies that you have. And yeah, and also the other insight I had, like running a company, is like every generation, like the team sizes are shrinking. So we used to have these large companies with hundreds of people. Now when you have companies hit $1 billion, I'm sure like they are sometimes they're not even 100 people working in that company, and that trend is going to keep going and going. So the idea or the onus on everybody is to be more broad in terms of your knowledge base and experience. So in startups we love like more generalist than specialist. So you have to become a good generalist or a full stack developer or be a very good specialist. So kind of pick your lane, but you have to continue to learn and adopt as we go. Otherwise the young folks are going to eat your cake.
That's definitely great advice. And yeah, as someone who's been in the tech industry for sort of 17 years, and I get further and further away from the front line, I do have to keep pushing myself to go back in there and play with technology so that I don't become completely out of touch with it. So it's definitely that's great advice. And interesting what you said about the $1 billion company. I was actually listening to a Tim Ferriss podcast the other day, and they were talking about the decretion in the number, and the prediction is that because of AI, we will soon have a one-person, $1 billion company, which is completely mind-blowing to think about. They'll be backed by AI, and I think
maybe it will be no people. It will be an AI company.
Even better. But bearing in mind all of those things, you're an industry leader. Be very interesting to get your thoughts. What future trends do you see? What do you see coming in the world of AI?
Yes, so I think there is a lot of rush right now to reach be AI ready or AI enabled or be AI first. So I do see there would be a rush to value, which is really awesome. It's like a gold rush. Everybody is rushing and figuring out how they can transition to this. But with every technology, the problems kind of like slowly catch up. So one of the things I feel like is like there would be tens of different problems that will now come when you have more AI in your product. Like data privacy is a huge problem. One of the open problems I see is like GDPR. Like if your AI model knows some personal information, how do you unlearn from that information, right? Or how do you like retrain your model without that information? It's not simply just delete a database entry anymore. So there is going to be challenges around data lineage because everybody will have to prove, when an AI model is returning some data, just like Wikipedia or your own company. Where is this data coming from? Where is the data? What's the data provenance? So there would be challenges around data governance. There would be challenges around like using third-party AI or where do you run? Like there are systems challenges around where do you run these models. these government compliance challenges, cost challenges, being able to provide a clean data, trained model that can be not subject to lawsuits. Those are all going to be something that we are seeing right now, and it's just going to continue to grow. And another big area is around just like AI security, where you would have problems where the adversaries are now also AI enabled. So that makes it double challenging to now track and solve, or just handle like that kind of cyber attacks or some security issues. So it's you have to be really prepared for that new world. It'll be a new urban warfare, cyber warfare, I should say, that you have to deal with.
Yeah, the hacker aspect of it is definitely something that I don't feel like we've properly seen the impact of that at the moment, and it's going to be disastrous for a lot of people. There's the world of thinking that you can not just have things unpatched or not get seen. It's over, basically. Everybody can see you with your pants down now, and not only that, they will come for you with sophisticated AI bots. So yeah, it's a very, very scary thing. But if you're in the business of,
it's like a Black Mirror episode.
We are right in the middle of the Black Mirror episode.
Yeah.
But at the end of this episode, Tarang, it was a real pleasure having you on the show. Really great having you. Thank you so much. Any parting words?
Thank you, Ganesh. This was wonderful talking to you. I'm very thankful to our team from where we are reached so far. We are thankful to our customers. And if you want to know more about our data privacy and data efficiency solutions, please check out granica.ai.
Perfect. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
This episode was produced and edited by Daniel Ohana and Toma Movizon. Sound editing and mix by Bren Russell. I'm Ganesh Diosu, a senior solutions architect, and if you're ready to deep dive and start transforming the way you approach security, then the team and myself at Global Dots are at your disposal. It's what we do, and if I don't say so myself, we do it pretty well. So have a word with the experts, don't be shy, and remember that conversations are always for free. Find us at globaldots.com.